Well, good afternoon there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Scott Manning coming to you live from Scott YouTube Sports Talk. I want to take a few minutes. I got to take a time out and talk about this. Number 9 Kentucky falls to Seton Hall in overtime. What a battle. This game went to overtime, and I'm telling you, you want to talk about clutch threes today. You saw them. Miles Powell hit the first clutch three to give Seton Hall a lead in regulation. And then all of a sudden, Keldon Johnson of Kentucky comes out of nowhere, hits a half-court three to send the game into overtime. Then Miles Cale, the game winner. Wow. What a game it was between Seton Hall and Kentucky. And Seton Hall upset Kentucky 84-83. Miles Powell, the clutch three in regulation to give him the lead. 28 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Miles Cale, he may have only went 3 of 10 from 3-point land, but he hit the game winner. 17 points, 4 rebounds. He was only 4 of 18 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3-point land, but he was a perfect 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Quincy McKnight of Seton Hall, 15 points, 4 assists. Terrain Thompson, he had to come off the bench. 13 points, 4 assists in their game winner. Now for Kentucky, and I hate numbers like this in a losing effort. P.J. Washington, 29 points, 12 rebounds, 12 of 13 from the free throw line. How sad. Keldon Johnson, he hit the half-court three at the buzzer to send the game into overtime. 12 points, 4 rebounds, and that was it. Reed Travis, 13 points, 6 rebounds. He was 7 of 8 from the free throw line. And Tyler Hero, 10 points, 2 rebounds. This game was decided on clutch threes, and it was a 3-ball that I think that literally did it. For Seton Hall, think about this. 27 of 60 from the field, they shot 45% for the game. Kentucky, 27 of 61 for 44.3%. It was the 3-pointers that gave Seton Hall the victory. They went 11 of 27 from 3-point land. That's 40.7%. Kentucky was just awful. The 3-ball shooting for the Kentucky Wildcats today was just flat awful. 5 of 20 for 25%. That was it. And I'll say this, the sad part about it was Kentucky went 24 of 30 from the free throw line and shot 80%. But Seton Hall only went 19 of 26 for 73.1%. How bad was that? Both teams had 36 rebounds, 13 assists. Seton Hall had 17 turnovers to Kentucky 16. Wow. That's all you can say. When you got clutch threes coming every which way. Miles Powell hit the clutch three in regulation. I'm thinking, all right, game over. Keldon Johnson comes out of nowhere, hits a half-court three himself. And then Miles Cale, the most unlikely hero of the day, shocks everybody. Number 9 Kentucky falls in overtime in the City Hoops Classic at Madison Square Garden in New York. A lot of people are saying that the New York crowd may have had something to do with it. Well, let me tell you something. And a lot of people said that the Big East is weak right now. The Big East is kind of weak. I'll give them that. There's a few teams that are holding them down. I'm not going to mention any teams at the moment. But let me tell you something. This was a huge win for Seton Hall today. And if you think about it too, number 10 Michigan State barely survived Florida. And I'm going to tell you right now, this Saturday in college basketball, I've got a feeling this is going to be crazy. This was just the early slate. We got more games to come. Louisville's playing Indiana right now on Fox. And in about a half an hour from now, we're going to be watching Georgetown face Syracuse in an old Big East rivalry. How fun is that going to be? But let me tell you something. Seton Hall upset Kentucky today. What can you say? Clutch threes at the end. Kentucky's 3-point shooting was awful. Only 5 of 20 for 25%. And then when you got Seton Hall shooting 11 of 27 for 40.7%, that was impressive. They couldn't. Kentucky, they tried to offset the horrible 3-ball shooting with the great free throw shooting. 24 of 30 for 80%. While Seton Hall only went 19 of 26 for 73.1%. But this game was decided by the 3 balls. It was the threes that decided it. And I mean, I've always said this many times. You cannot and live and die by the three ball. It does not work all the time. I'm using it now. That was the stat that I'm going to be circling in this game. If somebody asks me, how did Seton Hall upset Kentucky? I'll circle the three ball stat. The stats for the three-pointers. 5 of 20 for 25%. You're not going to win a ball game because when you got Seton Hall shooting 11 of 27 from three-point land, and when you got Miles Cale, he may have only been 3 of 10 from three-point land, but he hit the game winner at the end of regulation. So for Kentucky, it's a disappointing loss. And that's all I'm going to say for the right now. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I will be back later tonight for the Scott Manning College Basketball Podcast wrap-up show. Well, we'll wrap up the Saturday in college basketball. And I got a couple of games I want to look at it from Friday night. Nevada and Arizona State. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that is a great question. Why didn't the ref call a flagrant foul when BJ took an elbow to the neck? That I don't know. I mean, somebody thought it was incidental. I'm having a hard time believing it. I saw that elbow. I'm thinking, why wasn't there a flagrant called? That is a good question. I don't know. I wasn't the referees. I wasn't there. But I will say this. It should have been a flagrant because that was dirty what happened there. And I'm thank you for asking me that question, sir. I really do appreciate it. But the bottom line is there are a lot of calls that should have been called, but that weren't. But I'll tell you right now. Kentucky went down. P.J. Washington took an elbow to the neck. I'm not sure if you saw that or not. I did. And why wasn't there a flagrant called? That's what I'd love to know. But I will say this, though. John Calipari is going to be reaming his team for the three-ball shooting. So P.J. Washington taking the elbow to the neck, that was dirty. But Kentucky's three-point shooting was awful. And that's all there is to it. Now, their free throw shooting was fantastic, 24 of 30 for 80%. But I will say this. Kentucky has got some work to do. Seton Hall got the upset. John Calipari is not going to be a very happy man. Not just with his players, but with some of the officiating as well. I would not be surprised if the officials get called out for what happened here today. And I'm not going to go any further on this right now. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time with me here this morning. I'm not going to say anything more until tonight. All right, guys, I'm going to try to go ahead and get on out of here. I want to thank you guys for taking the time with me here. I'll be back tonight at about either 11 or 11:30 for the Scott Manning College Basketball Podcast wrap-up show. I'll take your questions, your comments. I got a couple of games I want to look at from Friday night. Nevada, Arizona State, and UMass Providence. But I'm also going to review the Michigan State-Florida game, along with the Seton Hall-Kentucky game. And in about 30 minutes from now, we're going to have the old school Big East rivalry, Syracuse-Georgetown. That's going to be fun to watch. Jim Boeheim of Syracuse versus Patrick Ewing of Georgetown. You know what I think Patrick Ewing ought to do? He ought to wear that towel over his shoulder like old John Thompson used to do just to irritate Boeheim. But that's just me. All right, folks, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for being with me, and God bless.